Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser, brought to you by our friends at Reckless Coffee Roasters. It is Wednesday. I'm back to being the number one dad. Mind you, this is wearing out more and more. It's the greatest dad, first of all, and I'm the only one who knows what it actually says now at this point, so I blame the dishwasher. But number two is with us. That doesn't sound good, but coming close to the numbers.
Hey, I
is
am
Gordo.
Don't worry about it.
What's happening?
Not much. Just gearing up for the last couple of games here. So, and obviously, paying close attention and making sure that we keep our Farmers League intact.
Yes, with his Farmer League comments, the love of the internet is John, who's with us. Adored by all.
Yeah, adored by
John,
all.
what's happening, man?
No, I'm good. I've been better.
Did you shut off your Instagram like Nunez? Did you delete all American
Oh
Scout?
no, man! Like people, nah. People can say what they want to say, man. The thing is, though, like, if we're talking about the league as a whole, one winner over the last few years, that by definition is a farmers league by only having one team win it. In terms of the other definitions, right? Like, listen, I don't want to go into this like so quickly, but people are
Let's
taking
get another clip, shall we?
right. But people are taking my words way out of context. Like, if you actually watch the show, I did clarify that in terms of the other aspects of the league being not competitive and stuff.
Yeah. Didn't you clip it though? Like, so you
right. The thing is, it's to draw people to watch the whole show.
I felt like I really wanted to like make a fake account and just like egg on those people just to get it. Because I thought about doing it immediately, and I'm like, oh, then they'll realize that like I'm the other one in the show, and like that's not great. And then I was like, I'll have to make another account, and then it was like it became too much to do. But yeah, I don't think bad publicity is still good publicity.
Yeah, it was. I was every time I saw it, I started laughing because of all people, it's poor John that's getting the online.
No worries. Like, if I got an opinion, I'll stand by it.
and I think we agreed with it. At the time, I still do in terms of like if that's what you're going to categorize as a farmers league, then.
Man, you should have just like laid low when you saw the comment, just duck and sneak. And of course, we got the usuals too. Like we got Yanks talking soccer kind of a thing, and then we got the stick to baseball and stuff like that. I was like, oh, all the classics are coming out. Right. People don't agree with it and stuff. By the way, we are all rocking the American Scouser hat today. It was not by design initially. Well, 2 out of the 3 were design, but we said might as well go all the way. By the way, I have to give credit to this is the first time finally this design was made by actually Brandon Chase. I don't know if you have met him at all, Gordo. I personally met him at the game that we went to together in Indiana, but he's part of the Chicago group as well, and he's actually the person who's behind our logo as well. So shout out to him. Awesome shirts. Obviously you can tell it's slightly an older design because that's Bobby there, but might throw it on there because it does look really cool. So I was like, I'm rocking. So I'm rocking all American Scouser, and the brand new American Scouser boxer underwear is on me as well.
Let's see that.
Okay, let's get to some headlines and some news.
That's for Patreon people. Highest sub.
Okay. We talked about this last week. I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. Like Achtenberg leaving after 15 years and stuff like that. And where is he going? He's going to the Heat in Saudi Arabia. Does he know that Gerard might not even be there when he gets there? By the way, Gordo. He's like, I thought you were in Jeddah, man. Where you at? He's like, oh, I'm back already. Like,
it reminds me of I can't think it was Chris Armas and why can't I think of the Leeds coach, the American Leeds coach?
Jesse Marsh.
Yes, Jesse Marsh. When he brought him over, he's like, come on over. And they're like, we're going to revolutionize everything. And then 3 games later, he's gone. And it's just like, hey, man, like that was, I dropped everything to come over here. It sounded more permanent when you were talking to me about it.
And I almost feel like, I know what you think, John. I mean, we talked about it, and like you're the one who sent the link. And when I saw it, he laughed, like literally laughed out loud. Because I feel like he was like, "Oh, it's time to retire."
Yeah.
And he calls, he's like, "Yeah, but how long?" He's like, "Oh, I guess, yeah, I'll come over there first on my way to retirement." He probably knows they're only going to be there a couple of months, but I'll take what I can on the way out.
Yeah, it's
You
just
think
that
they will revolutionize the soccer league over there?
it's just really funny because we were kind of like kind of saying his obituary, like, oh, John Achterberg, like, poor guy, kind of misunderstood, blamed for the failures of others, but not really. He's actually a great guy, but then we found out he's going to freaking Saudi. like a week later, like, oh, okay, so you weren't going to retire. You were just going to Saudi so you could chase the bag or whatever. But listen, all jokes aside, if he wants to do that, obviously it's his prerogative, and he's served the club for so many years. It's just really funny that, like, he's kind of late to the party though, isn't he? Because like, I feel like the Saudi train, it's Anan who always says the Saudi train has kind of left the runway already a long time ago. So
yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you guys though. Like, has it? Or something like this. I mean, obviously, going over there is not going to like re-spark the whole thing. But
yeah.
I mean, what do you guys expect as we approach? You can tell Sparky's back home when he says afternoon, because normally he's cussing out the fact that he had to wake up early over here in Phoenix. But what do you guys think? Like, I mean, is it over? As we approach summer, the transfer market over here, is it going to be like last year? Is there going to be a second wave, or it's going to kind of like dwindle down? Did they get smarter? They didn't get poorer, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but did they get smarter, or did they give up, or is mission accomplished for them? They got the World Cup, blah blah blah.
As long as they continue to hand out those large contracts, they're always going to attract people in the summer for sure. I think we'll start to see more players start to do it in their twilight of their career instead of like the big names. I think that those massive names going at, peak times is probably, we'll see one or two of those, but not in the volume that we did last summer. Because I think, like you said, mission accomplished. They splashed the cash. They became, well known on the world stage in terms of disrupting regular leagues, or farmers leagues, as John calls them. And just kidding.
He's not gonna outlive that one. Yeah,
it's fine.
as long as they get the paydays, people will still go there. So, and I will probably turn into like a retirement gig.
Yeah.
How about you, John? I mean, is it going to be, like I say, money is never going to run out over there, because oil doesn't seem to run out, and where there's oil, there's money. So the money is not going to run out. And these guys, it's not like these guys are going to be like, oh, the budgets and stuff doesn't matter. That they kind of like doing this for, well, half of it is for spite, I guess. Half of it is because I can. Like when you see like, what was that? Well, you're too old for this, but what was the MTV show that they went to, like, rich people's homes and stuff? Gordo, you'll remember this.
Cribs?
Yes. So like, like some of the stuff you would be like, why? Like, because it was like an obnoxious amount, and it's because I can kind of an ordeal.
I got Cristal
I feel
in
like
the fridge.
I feel like the Saudi league is the same way. Like, why would you pay $50 million to that guy? Because I can. Do you think they're going to go and do the same thing?
I feel like we're gonna see how, in terms of obviously the money, it's gonna be there, but in terms of how, because obviously they want their league to be a legitimate league. They want to remove that Farmers League label from their league. So I feel like how hard they're gonna go for Salah this summer is kind of an indication as to, I feel like, the stature of how they feel like the perception of their league is going. Because like it's okay to have all the money, sure, but then how does the general public view your league? Everyone still thinks it's probably at the same level of the MLS, even though they got the likes of Benzema, Neymar, who hasn't played like 2 games. So there is still
he's still rolling somewhere.
Right, he's still rolling somewhere. So there is that perception issue. So I feel like, not to make this about us, but I feel like seeing how much they're gonna go and offer up for Salah, how hard they're gonna go for him, is like an indication, like, oh, we need this face of our league. Because let's face it, they brought Cristiano in, but aside from ESPN FC, no one cares about Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Like, you guys see that ESPN FC posting every 2 seconds about what Ronaldo did? Like, no one cares, man. No one cares.
Yeah,
So,
no one cares is right. I mean, like you say, I mean, why would you? Or first of all, okay, does no one care? Because I was never obviously a Ronaldo fanboy. I mean, you still see anything you see with Messi, there's always like a Ronaldo guy. Anything with Ronaldo,
Right.
there's always a Messi guy. I didn't understand how why people commit their lives. Like, they really like dedicated their entire lives to fighting the good fights and like, like, I'm Team Messi and stuff like that. But aside from Mo, Gordo, because I think that's a good point. Like, the Mo budgets, because they're not going to come and probably give the same money, but that would be mainly one, due to form, and two, yeah, you have money, but you don't have to spend it if you don't have to, kind of a deal. But can you think of anybody else aside from Mo? Because I don't know if it's like what John is saying, like, we're thinking of it from our perspective only. Another player that you would be like, oh, damn, man, these guys are still going at it. Like, one guy that they could realistically bring in.
Even though, like, okay, Salah's like still performing, but you wouldn't suggest that he's in, peak of his career. So I would still suggest that Salah is more of a twilight of the career, going there to make the big bucks. I still wouldn't see him as a capture. I mean, yeah, like I said, he's still performing, right? He still gave us 20 plus goals this season. He just set another Premier League record for his goals and assist contributions over the last 7 seasons. So you can argue that he is still productive, but I would say, due to his age and, that dip in form after, I mean, it took him a long time to recover from that injury that he sustained with Egypt. So you could suggest that he's probably still, in my opinion, like a very MLS pickup, like end of the career jump. So, and I know that Sir Z said KDB, and that's probably one, because I would suggest that KDB is somewhere on the plateau of the peak, right? Like, he's not young, but he's definitely not like at the end of his career. So I think maybe KDB might be
not 30 yet. How old is this freaking kid?
He's got quite a few injuries.
He's not a kid anymore, right? He's 32.
No, he's not a kid. Yeah, so like he
looks younger.
I think it's the haircut. Yeah, he's got the long, like, very teenage, rebellious emo haircut now.
He's got like the John TikTok haircut thing going. Yeah, I hear you.
For the record, I never had that hair. Like, I was lucky enough to miss the emo phase as a teenager. Thank fuck, because I would have looked back at those pictures and cringed like hell if I ever did. So
I did. I had my hair flipped. It was like very much in my eyes.
You were the kid that was like doing this constantly.
Yeah. my first 2 years of high school, and then I just shaved it all off, and it's almost similar to what I have now. And I a lot of the people that I was friends with later would always say, like, oh yeah, we always thought you were like a huge stoner, so nobody talked to you because we didn't want to get involved in it. And like, it wasn't like I was wearing tie-dye or anything like that, but I also wasn't. And I'm like, Mom, I should have been smoking weed because might
as well live up to the reputation. To be fair, it wasn't legal then. In Illinois, but I mean, KDB. Okay, now Sir Z is like trying to sell everybody at City tours, trying to sign everybody in the City tours.
I see what Sir Z's doing there.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like KDB. I mean, Kyle Walker, is anybody in Saudi Arabia like Kyle Walker is here? And not to mention, I don't know if Kyle Walker is like, oh yeah, I should. If Kyle Walker is gonna go anywhere to cash in, you would think he would come here, or he would go to Turkey or something like that, where he can still party and not, like go to Saudi Arabia or something like that. But I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is not a bad shot, to be honest, because he's won everything under the sun now. Maybe if he had never won Champions League, you could be like, well, he's still got that. I mean, would either one of us, any of us, look down on him for going there? Because that will be the way out. And as often as he's getting injured and stuff now, it might be time to take it a little bit easier, cash in 5 times more. You won everything under the sun. Belgium sure isn't going anywhere looking like. And then you call the career. Like, would any of us say, why is Kevin De Bruyne going there, man? He's like ruining himself.
No, for me it's a no. And that kind of goes back to my point with Salah. If they're going to be going hard for a De Bruyne or a Salah, it means that they've still got something left in the tank, right? It's not like everyone is saying like that the flight has left the runway and stuff.
What do you consider going hard then? Like in terms of like amounts, like for Mo, like if they come in and say 80, is that going hard?
No, for sure no.
100.
Probably around 100 to 150, like 125 to 150 for me. That's going hard for Mo.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. So if they spend that money, you're saying they probably go around and spend 40, 50 on others as well.
Yeah, because I think it was somewhere midway through the season where I read that it's not translating into match day revenue. Actually, like their spending is massively outweighing what they're actually making, and obviously they can afford that hit, but their money's not as much as oil might seem to be unlimited. Taking losses, no matter how much money you have, is still not good, you know. So one day some guy's gonna go like, yeah, I know we have a lot in the coffers, but this still isn't ideal, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know how much of that they care. And I mean, I don't. Like they might not. I really don't know. I mean, I feel like it's almost like they're collectors, Gordo, but not as an investment. Like if it happens, it happens. If not, oh well. So they're not collecting. You know, some people collect something. It's like down the road, this is going to be worth a lot and shit. And some people just collect stuff because they like collecting stuff. I feel like they are more the latter. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's just that age-old thing that like once you have the money and you start like buying everything, there's nothing like left to buy, so nothing gives you excitement. And so like what's the next thing? Oh, buy a sports team. And then what's the next thing of that? Like fill the sports team with, you know, your favorite players or the biggest players in the game just to do so. So you could argue, and I would also argue the way that they were spending just to me was like, oh, this is for pleasure. This has nothing to do. This is just you can only buy so many Ferraris before you have every model. You know, you got to do something else with your money. So I don't see it as something that they like particularly care about losing money. But I'm with John in the sense that like you can't always do that. Eventually there has to be some turnaround. And it was very clear that there was kind of an underlying, you know, camaraderie between the purchases in the sense that like, all right, we're going to do this to boost the league and also get our World Cup, you know, bid.
Yeah.
And so there was like a concerted effort, you could say, from that. So I think there was a little bit of, you know, there's always a case for it to be more than one thing is true.
Yeah, that's true. And Zorzi says Salah will be a cash cow for him. That's probably a guy, one of the very few names, really. I mean, Ronaldo was probably a name like that, right? Like where people would go buy his stuff, like regardless if they don't already own it, because he means a lot more to the area, to the community, like to the Muslim area and stuff like that, aside from just being like a superstar player. I mean, Ronaldo came as, is he the GOAT? You know, like that was a different deal. But all the other players that went there, yeah, they're great players. I remember seeing it in like this league, blah, 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 this Farmers League he was playing in and stuff. But, Mo is a totally different story. So he would be a bigger deal when he goes there, and he might actually sell merchandise and make some of that money back. I mean, apart from maybe the club he's going to, I don't know how many people bought Benzema jerseys, for example.
Well, yeah. Wasn't there an issue though with the last World Cup when he like went? I forget the story, but like he went somewhere, and it was supposed to be just. Oh no, I think it might have been Messi, where they kind of used him as a political thing, but it like for. The story came out, they're like, oh, he was just invited to dinner and he didn't realize.
That was Messi, right?
Yeah, I think it was. That's why I was going to say that maybe he might not go there because of that reason. But I remember that story coming out, and whoever it was, and I'm pretty sure it was Messi, was just like,
Africa somewhere?
I was invited to dinner, and then all of a sudden it became like this whole political thing where I was like shaking hands with the president, and like it was like right before their elections or something like that, and he's like, I did not appreciate that.
And is that like a good political thing to do when I just told you that? Has he never been on the internet and seen a Messi post or a Ronaldo post and know how divided people are? Like, why would you bring Messi over there and be like, is he the GOAT? Vote for me. Like, it's just like, what the hell is that? That makes zero sense.
Right. Yeah.
You were about to say something, John. Go ahead.
Oh no, Gordo's story kind of caught me off guard. I forgot what I was gonna say. That's ridiculous, bro. I forgot about that story. That's ridiculous, right there. Like you can see that politicians will do anything, right? They go like Messi, hey, come here, right? Like
just for dinner. It's like and press conference,
right? If I was Messi, I'm bailing the moment they start talking about societal issues. I would just go like, yeah, I'm out of here. I kick a ball, man. I kick a ball.
Let's talk about this one a little bit. Another one that I looked and I was like, okay, so how does this help? Okay, so James Pierce says, and I don't know, like he's reporting this as not like, I don't think he's reporting Empire of the Cup maybe is reporting this as, oh my god, check this out kind of a thing. I hope the god James Pierce hasn't sunk so low where he's reporting this as like, you guys know what, Liverpool told Nunez to ignore those, kind of like what we've been doing the entire week with you, John, telling you to ignore the social media and move on forward.
Just keep dancing on TikTok.
Your fans will still watch you dance, dude. Let the haters hate. But I mean, that's an easy thing to say to a person, to say, oh, don't worry about it, man. I mean, why would that even be a story, I guess?
Maybe it's because Darwin is taking it harder than we think, right? Like, because, like, there's always that angle, right? Because, we know how Darwin is. He kind of, you and Matush kind of talked about it on the Monday show, where he feels like he probably is surprised that there is such a difference in how he's treated on the pitch and how he's treated by the fans who's not watching him playing live.
Yeah.
Right. It's such a contrast to hear guys, screaming Nunez when he misses from 5 yards. Whereas if he, puts on the comments at the same time, it goes like, get the, if I say what they're saying, I'd probably get the channel banned. So you guys know what I mean, right? So it's I understand if it does affect him that way, because he seems like a guy who does wear his heart on his sleeve and who gives it his all. And he probably feels like, oh, yeah, I missed all this, but then you guys can't say that I didn't give my all. So why are you slating me like this? So that's the only angle where I see that maybe that's why James is reporting it, because maybe Darwin's really taking it hard,
I guess that's an angle. I didn't think of that. I mean, I guess maybe my assumption was, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, I'm just like, when I read this story, it sounded like, if you have somebody like that is like getting affected by social media and taking it hard, and like they're like, where are his parents? Like, why don't they freaking like? And then Liverpool is like, we told him not to take it seriously, but kids these days, kind of a thing. I just felt like maybe the word got out, like he's not getting, because he isolated Liverpool. It's not like he closed the account or something like that. And because he isolated Liverpool and took only the Liverpool stuff out, do you think maybe like the club got some heat over not being able to protect him? I don't know what the heck they're going to do. And Liverpool is like, no, we told them, but it is what it is.
First and foremost, I was with John at the top of the program here when he said it was a slow news day, because this just reminded me of like what, like, are we supposed to be shocked? Are we supposed to like what? How are we supposed to take this? Right? Is this like a pro Liverpool, or is this a pro Darwin against Liverpool? Like I wasn't 100% sure what we were supposed to gather from that post, but I guess I'm sure the club did get some stick over it too, because like, what are you doing? Like, there are still a lot of people who think that he's going to come good and he's going to be a great striker that's going to, get us 20 plus goals a season. And,
I'm sorry, Gordon. It's just a comment. I'm assuming that's Kazi over there.
You know what the bad thing is? I thought the same thing. Or he went offside or something. Yeah, there were so many jokes. I mean, that's the thing, and it's okay to like, for the banter and the joke and stuff like that.
Right.
But then again, we were speculating that Kazi was probably in those comments, so to go back and get out of the club and stuff like that. I'm just kidding.
But like the other side of it is like, if you are trying to appease or like stop the hate, like why would you then isolate? Like now you've pissed off the entire fan base, right? Because it's like, what are you doing? There's still 2 games left. If Arsenal lose or if we win 6-0, Arsenal lose, Man City lose, like the last day, even though it's still probably not likely, the last day of the season is going to look a little juicy. And for him to do this right now, is I don't know. It struck me as very childish and just kind of reaffirmed everything I've always felt about Darwin Núñez, of just like, you don't like me, like, well, I'm going to make this huge deal about it. It's like, I don't know. I
guess. So what would you do? Let me ask you that then. If we'll ask John what he did, but what would you do if he got all the like the online hates as a pro? Do you just, because clearly it's to the point where you can't ignore it anymore. So let's put that in the premise. You know what I mean?
Look, like, first of all, anybody that goes out and personally attacks somebody for what they do on the field. I mean, I do not like Darwin Núñez on the team.
Speaking of personal attack, sorry. Personal attack, Sparky, come on. This is Sparky's quota, like one Gravenberg insult every show.
I think Sparky was the guy that said stick to baseball, by the way. No, I'm just, that's his fake account, but yeah, go ahead.
No, but like, nobody should do that, right? It's like, I don't like Darwin Núñez, but I'm not going to go and personally attack him or his family because of what he does on the field. I just would rather him play for another team. And I think, you as a fan, you can, that's warranted. You're allowed to dislike a player. You're allowed not to like the effort of certain players. You're allowed to really like the effort of some players. Like, that's what makes the sport great, is we have all these different opinions. That's why something like this American Scouts thing works, is because all of us have different opinions on all this stuff, and we can have conversations about it. You shouldn't attack somebody personally, but at the same time, you should also know professionally that you're never going to please everybody. While it is scary, you should let the big boys handle it, right? Jurgen Klopp came out and said something about it. The team should have came out and done a press release on it or something, like, like, we don't value this, or, something, very PC that solves all the problems. And then maybe even if it is like death threats and things like that, then get the police involved, and you just keep your mouth shut is what you really should do. And like, of course, easier said than done, because if you're going through and reading all this stuff, I'm sure it would anger everybody who would read that. But like, at the same time, you kind of have to know that it's much better for you just to shut your mouth and let other people handle it for you.
See, I'm like really torn on this. Now that you said that, I don't blame Núñez. You can't ignore death threats and insults to your family. He probably hasn't gotten negative comments. But then here's another thing. This is what I was thinking now that he mentions this. I mean, when you do that, aren't you basically saying, well, it's like almost like slide into my other picks and like put your comments there? It's not like they're going to be like, nope, that's the you're I'm not going to put my comment that these are not very sensible people who are like giving you death threats. So they're not going to be like, this is not a Liverpool post, so it's just not appropriate for me to talk about his Liverpool performance. Like, I'll put my death threat on Twitter instead.
These people are assholes. So all you've done is like, oh, look, we got to him, right? So let's keep going, because he was so upset by it. He dismantled all his photos. And like I said, it's easier said than done, of course.
See, here's my thing, and we were talking about this, I think, with Mateusz on Monday, and I can understand where somebody draws the line when it's family. And we were talking about something that happened like a couple of years ago. Even Angie was like, "Why didn't this even happen?" Because she didn't know about it until she watched the show. So I guess gotta be careful what the hell I say over here. So we can't talk about other girlfriends here. But it's. Like I don't care whatever people can say, go watch. Well, they're never going to say go watch baseball to me. So I got that kind of squared away. But, they can call me. I know they did call me Yank. So that's another story by itself. But, like I don't care about that stuff. But like when somebody attacked, and it was on Facebook, because I mean, if you're friends with me on Facebook, like my profile pic is like the girls and stuff like that. And that's when it hit the nerve, and that's when I went ape shit. Like normally I couldn't care less if you call me an idiot for thinking this or whatever, but so I can understand the family thing. And I guess now that as Gordo was saying that, John, I'm thinking the dude lives in Liverpool, and it's very possible these are some, I mean, everybody's like, oh, these are not real Liverpool fans. They might not be real Liverpool fans, but they could very well possibly be living in Liverpool. And if you get a death threat to somebody in your household, I don't know if it's like as easy to ignore, because I mean, you hear all these freaking crazy stories of like stalkers and shit that happens around the world. Do you just, I mean, it's probably hard to say, that won't happen to me. You would still worry. I mean, I would worry.
Yeah. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what he did. I feel like it's absolutely warranted. There has to be a line somewhere. Like we've discussed this multiple times, and again, slow news day, right? So we're kind of rehashing like the conversation with that you and Matush had last Monday. It's fine to criticize a player if he's not doing well. I feel within the grounds of his performance on the pitch. But if we're going at a personal level, like, come on, guys, right? Come on, let's be real here. First of all, what does it accomplish?
Yeah.
Right. Secondly, like, imagine if your loved one was attacked that way. How would you feel? Right. It's kind of like a whole, you do what you do unto others when you don't want others to do unto you. So yeah, it's
so are you okay with what Nunez did? Because I mean, I agree with Gordo in terms of probably could have been handled differently, but I just can't come up with a way. I mean, yeah, I guess you could involve like the police and stuff like that if it is death threats. We don't necessarily know what the comments were. I mean, did somebody say just go and die, like I say to like Al Michaels and stuff as I watch football, or did he like, I don't go to Al Michaels, I'm like, I'm gonna come in and kill you? I mean, there's like a huge difference. So I mean, we don't know exactly what was said.
I just see Tamucci on American Scouts are a nice even keel guy, but like when it comes to NFL, he's like, fuck you, Al Michaels.
Honestly, broadcasters in general, like Angie knows, I'm like, oh my god, just die already. Like she's like, oh, these old people just go away. Like Martin Tyler, just die already.
I'm just quiet. I'm just quiet because I'm the same with the NBA commentators, man. I cannot stand those guys. Like I swear, you just when Tim mentioned the commentary, I was just like, it like memory unlocked. I swear. But to answer your question, Tim, I can't 100% agree that he did it. I feel like he did it the right way to an extent, but I feel like to beat these guys, you have to make it seem like they're not getting to you. So the fact that you're doing all this and going out of your way to block or to remove comments and stuff like that, remove photos, means that you're kind of letting them win to an extent, not 100%, but to an extent. So like those idiots who are unhinged would see this as some sort of small victory, and as an effect kind of enables their behavior. So they'd keep doing it to Darwin. They'd keep doing it to other players. Yeah. It's very nuanced, right? It's not a black or white kind of thing. So yeah, I feel like if it went overboard with the death threats, I felt like, probably what Gordo said, he could have just not blocked and turned off comments and then just went to the appropriate channels, aka the police and everything, and then just left it as it is. Because let's be real, if you go to like, let's say, because I liked a photo that Van Dijk posted yesterday. If you go to his Instagram feed, there's a lot of people there who's going like, you're washed, like pretty personal in some of the comments as well. So and you see Big Verge, he's just taking it in stride, right? So it's pretty it's pretty nuanced, I would say, in terms of how to handle it.
By the way, Alan says at least Gomez refused to use social media, but I follow Gomez on Instagram, so he does have it. I mean, I don't know. I never like commented on his photos, like love you, Joe. I like what you do, but and that's what I love. Like when people like talk, leave alone people's profiles. By the way, let me get this off my chest. Right. I like, it's one thing to go into somebody's profile and say, Joe, I really like what you do. Like, Joe, like send me your jersey or whatever. I love when people post it in a Facebook group, in a post about the player, pretending they are reading that post. Like, like it's like he's not even in the group. Leave alone reading the post, like addressing him, like, Joe, don't worry, we're behind you. It's like he's not there, like he's not hearing this. Like it's like,
there are people who just don't understand how social media works.
It's like that commercial. It's like that's not how any of this works.
It's like when you see the posts in like the group pages about like the community pages. Like, is my son Michael here? It's like, no, no. Why don't you call him? This isn't text messages, right? I just don't understand. I actually had
when I laugh as an old guy, because you do see a lot of that. It's like, no, that's not how any of this works. Spark says he may have been to the police and they told him to delete and block it too. I mean, sadly, that is a very police response.
But only the police were like, why don't you just delete all your Liverpool photos? Like, what? That doesn't.
He's like a United fan. You know what I would do?
Like shutting his account down for a certain number of days, sure. But just
By the way,
going through and deleting all of it.
You guys are working on this. We are going to have actually on our Patreon, and we'll probably share a lot of it on our social media and YouTube and stuff as well. You guys are doing something regarding like mental health. You're going to be hosting that one, and with people who know what they're talking about. I mean, Serzi is in the field. He might not know what he's talking about regularly in football, but he definitely knows about like mental health. And Rich as well, who's been like a like a long time contributor. He works in the field as well. Both these gentlemen do. So it's people's emotions and fear we're dealing with. The money earned does not make anyone bulletproof to insults and death threats. And I understand that, and that's what I guess like the part of it, and then similar to John just wanted to get on the bottom of the screen, so he just had to like. I guess I do understand. We were kind of talking about a little bit about this on Monday, where like why even have it if you're like obviously there's like a financial gain to it, or you connect with your fans, blah blah blah, like improve your brand and stuff like that. But at the same time, it goes back to John what you were saying. It's almost like you're letting the terrorists win if you do not have a social media account because you don't want to abuse. I'm not even going to deal with these people kind of a thing, because you're kind of taking away from your actual fans, maybe like the people that you do want to connect with, because, and just to avoid the people you don't want to connect with, you're losing out on those people. Because otherwise, I mean, I don't know, man. If I was this, like, I might. I mean, are you thinking of, for example, shutting off your social media as you get more and more famous over here?
Maybe a few years ago, but right now I've been involved. I get involved in a lot of forum discussions and everything. And there was a point where there was a time where the personal insults, I let it get to me, and then at that point in my life, I just had like an epiphany and gone like, hold on, like this place, like online social media, it doesn't reflect real life, right? And obviously that's easier. It's easier to say and than to actually realize it and go by it. So like if you go to my Facebook page right now, I think my last post was like 2020, I think, when we won the Champions League, when we won the league, when we won the Champions League, because I just realized, like, listen, if I want to interact with people, mostly like maybe through the chat and all that, but in terms of like, posting, putting up stuff for interactions, I'd rather just do that, at a personal level, just connect through experiences and stuff like that. Because listen, what people say to you here, I just take it with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, I don't really know these guys. Their words, sticks and stones kind of deal. Like, your words will never hurt me. And it's the same thing. Like, people are making fun of me in terms of like my comments about the whole Farmers League thing last week. At the end of the day, it's just football. Like, it's my opinion. Yeah. If y'all disagree, then y'all disagree. If you hate me, if you don't want to tune into the show, well, I'm sorry, Tim. We probably lost some subscribers, but it is what it is because you put my dumb ass in this show, So like,
your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. And
actually, the way it works is we're like, let's see what else this idiot is saying. So they'll probably have some like extra viewers this morning.
Right. Like, and the thing is, like Gordo said, bad publicity is still publicity. So if they go like, oh, it's the dumbass here, it's John. Like, let's tune in and see what his dumbass has to say. We still get some views. So like I said the other week, like even if I lose, we still win. Right? We still win as a channel.
Does that get? Obviously, I mean, it clearly gets magnified, but when it gets magnified, Gordo, and it goes like a million-fold, because God knows how many people are in Nunez's. I can't remember, like I had looked at it, but I think like 2 million followers or something like that. So it just doesn't get so much that after a while you gotta do something. I mean, you can ignore it, or is the possibility of it getting real, and maybe that's when it goes to death threats and talking about the family and stuff. It's one thing for him to say you suck. You're like, okay, whatever. Because I know when players do that. I remember like LeBron. I actually just came up maybe like a couple of years ago. Maybe it was like 4 or 5 years ago. You probably remember. You're an NBA guy, John. Like somebody asked him about all the criticism he gets, blah blah blah, and he gave at that time. Everybody considered. I mean, it was a real comment, but it was came across douchey and smug, maybe saying. That's fine. Tomorrow, I'm still going to be LeBron. I'm still going to be freaking have my lifestyle and the money and all that kind of stuff. It takes a long time, and it maybe takes so much abuse. It's not like LeBron has gotten less abuse than Nunez probably gotten the tenfold. after a while, Gordo, you just like bring it, regardless of what it is.
Well, you have team psychologists, right? You have people that work and come in and there's the open door policy. Players can go in and talk about issues like that, or, something that's particularly bothering them because, as everyone knows, they're all human. They all have this other stuff going on in their lives, and then they come into work and you need them to perform at the job. And as much as you'd like to say that these guys are like a game of FIFA where you just turn it on and they're ready to go and play, they're carrying all this stuff into games. And so the clubs employ these very well, established people in the industry to come in and talk to these guys about their problems. Somebody should be telling them that, like, if you are having this much problem, like if you are drawn to reading these comments, you need to hire somebody to manage your social media, and you need to walk away from it. Because if you are managing your own social media account and you're the one that's, they call it doom scrolling, where you just like keep reading all the negative comments, then you need to separate yourself out from that. And you're an adult. He's got kids. He's married. He's in a professional job that pays very well. Like, he needs to see that in himself as well. That's as much, not saying that excuses people from giving him shit and death threats and stuff like that. Definitely doesn't. But you should also know that as a person, as who you are. It's like, I don't have the fortitude to look at these comments and be okay. So I need to separate myself from them. Somebody needs to be telling him that.
And I'm sure he has people. That was like, like going back to what Kazi was saying earlier. I took that as like a miscommunication there, where he was like, I just take it off. Like, no, I meant the comment, not all the posts, kind of a thing, like I need whoever was in charge to call, like a language barrier. He still hasn't learned English, and he's hiring like an English speaking.
Of course, Darwin gets the timing of something wrong. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
There's so many out there, yes. So she says, why does LeBron get a lot of hate? Don't get it. I don't understand why there's a team Kobe.
Let me see
why is there a team Kobe and team MJ and stuff like that? I mean, people create these things for one. And honestly, in case of LeBron,
how much time do we have?
That's another thing.
How much time do we have, Sergi? Like, listen, if you follow the basketball world as much as I do, LeBron's a great player, absolutely great player, probably top 5 all time. But the baggage that comes with him, I just can't with the baggage that comes with him, the media hype. It's the hype that really gets me, and the fact that whenever he loses, he never seems to be responsible. That's all I'll say.
And he ruined our season. I stayed up very late one night checking points, and I'll tell you this right now: when he collaborated with us, from the point that he announced his collaboration to today, we got half the amount of points per game. Okay, so I'm blaming LeBron James for that. So,
see, first of all, you have to understand some of the hate that comes from John, because he's a Warriors fan. But like, I'm a Lakers fan, and I'm not a huge like a LeBron guy. I'm more of like I grew up more watching Kobe and stuff like that. So like, I admire his play more than LeBron. But I think it's just like, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It's like Ronaldo or Messi, who's the GOAT and stuff like that. It's that kind of a conversation. The thing that has made me a LeBron fan, and I don't want to say even an apologist, is the fact that a lot of the hate LeBron gets is from people who do not like an African-American gentleman having so much power and voice. And
hey.
No, not you. I'm just saying, like, a lot of it, not you. You're the Warriors angle there, still hurting from if he beat you guys, because he beat you guys in the final once, right?
Yeah, we beat him thrice. So,
but he didn't beat you guys in the final once, right?
Yeah, we beat him thrice. So I think 3 is greater.
But
than
I think some of the hate he gets, just all that, he should just dribble and stuff like that, and that's one reason I've become more of a LeBron fan. I was not, just to kind of spite those people, kind of say. Sparky says LeBron shouldn't be. I don't care if LeBron is anywhere near it, as long as he makes the club money. Don't believe into the conspiracy theories and hype.
But then Gordo has over here. He has numbers.
I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, he's got numbers.
2.2 points a game before his announcement, and 1.12 points per game after his announcement.
Okay? Is it really a conspiracy if you got numbers backing your argument? Like.
LeBron is over there like tugging Nunez as he's shooting and tackling Mo as he's kind of control the ball and stuff. Speaking of conspiracy theories and rumors and stuff like that, so normally there's a lot. 'Tis the season, right?
Oh, where boy.
We get a lot of. I mean, it started early. This is what I hate about.
We're doing this now.
Yeah, seasons going like this. So this is what we kind of have decided how to handle, because I get messages or people telling me, did you guys hear about this rumor and stuff like that? And in the past, we have not really posted much rumors because, I mean, we've talked about it in the morning shows where I put this graphic up, not that graphic, but the whole gauge over there. And then we decide where it fits in the gauge. So kind of like what we decide to do is let you decide where to put it in the gauge and let you guys know we are aware of the rumor. And then, contributors, anybody, fans can kind of like go in there and put where they feel this one sits. I mean, I'm putting right now, I can't even put anything on a die right now. I think I'm putting everything up in the middle because we don't even know what the hell is going to happen. Cersei is already signing people. Everybody is already signing people. I mean, we've already signed like 15 people from what I've seen. But more than this player alone, Gertruda, how likely do you guys think, or what are you putting the over under on, Gordo? How many players, if we do sign Slot and once it's official, how many, if any, players he brings from Feyenoord? Oh, we lost Gordo.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
I think we did lose him. He froze.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you the same question. Over, under on how many?
Probably not over 3. I would say. I feel like he brings like
3. Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like he brings 1 or 2 guys because I feel like listen, when we got Rodgers in, how many did he bring from Swansea? He probably brought like 2, like Barini and Joe Allen and stuff like that. I feel like we don't go past 3 players from Feyenoord, but I feel like in terms of overall players that we bring in, I feel like we get at least 4. And especially since I agree with Sparky, there's probably going to be a lot of outgoings here. But then it all depends, really, because if we're talking about, the meter, right, in terms of this guy, we brought back Edwards, right? So, there's this stigma that comes with Liverpool transfer business where it happens behind the scenes and we don't know until it's actually done. That I feel like that was more Edwards, with our transfer business last year, we were heavily linked to guys like, for example, Gravenberg. We knew Gravenberg was probably likely for like a week and then he came. So it was public knowledge for a time. With Edwards, that's not necessarily the case. So I feel like with this guy's name being thrown around and everything right now, I feel like it's kind of in between not bloody likely and doubted, because I don't think Edwards would go out, this publicly with a player. And especially considering since we haven't hired Slut yet. It's not official. It's not on the channel.
Yeah, but I think like some of the, like, for example, this one, along with a bunch of other ones, are specifically from Feyenoord because... And is it Feyenoord or Feyenoord? Grown up thinking it was Feyenoord, but now I hear it's Feyenoord. People are really throwing me off. But either way, I think some of these rumors are because people are looking at the players he has. I mean, I kind of did that with Amorim at Sporting Lisbon, for example, and be like, you know what? He might bring this guy and that guy, kind of a deal. I think these are not even like rumors necessarily. I mean, it's only a rumor because he plays for that team. I don't think, like I mean, there's some other names being thrown around as possibilities and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, I get you.
You know what I mean? Like, I think this is more like people are assuming he's going to bring some of his boys and then looking at the squad, like, who would he bring now? And then you're like, he might bring this, and it becomes a rumor. But we figured this is the best way to kind of announce that we're aware of the rumor, but without really totally buying into it and reporting it as a possibility, because I do hate that. So we definitely have stayed away from that in American Scouts for all these years, and I don't want to start now. But at the same time, if you don't report that there's a word out there, it almost looks like we're not aware of it, which we're well aware. We were just trying to ignore it all this time. But this is the best way to ignore it. Not necessarily ignore it. Maybe, Gordo, you're back with us, looks like. So acknowledge it, but then let's make people make the call and move on. If you say it's bullshit, because I can post the Mbappe one or whatever too. There's always rumors that are going to be out there. But going back to, I don't know, we lost you right before. How many players, if any, do you think he brings from his old club? Assuming this is all said and done and official.
Yeah, I guess my internet connection realized how little I wanted to talk about this. So yeah,
I'm just gonna freeze you up, bro.
I take one for the team. I heard the last part of what you said about I think the speculation lies of like you're always gonna look at a coach that's changing teams and look at his best players and be like, oh, who can we take from this, right? So I don't see any likely. Like, you really think that the club is going to be like, yes, we'll let the coach go, who's given us decent success over the last 3 years, and a couple of his best players. Sure, everyone can walk out the door. I think it'd be it's not as simple as that. So I don't see it as likely. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, right? Because like a lot of times coaches can do that. Like if Klopp was leaving and going somewhere else, I'm sure maybe one or two players would be like, hey, can I go with you?
You got room in this suitcase?
I would very much be like, yeah, I really liked working with you. I like what you do, and you already know what I can offer you. I'd be willing to consider offers from the team. So there is that possibility. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think a lot of those rumors come from the fact is like, oh, now like suddenly Feyenoord's on our radar, so let's look at who the best players are.
I think, you're looking at a team. I don't know, like you're watching the Champions League yesterday, right? Like you're looking at Dortmund, like PSG, and then you're like, who would I take from this team? Who would I take from that team? So if I gave you a club, and then you would probably name him one of the. Apparently, Sparky has like a quota on number of Dutch players, so we can't carry anymore. We can always get rid of Gravenberg to make room though for that quota, John.
No, excuse me. but hey, going back to Gertruda. Sorry, did I pronounce the name Gertruda? Did I pronounce that right?
I hope so. I don't know if it's Feyenoord or Feyenoord, so there's that.
Right. In terms of the player profile, he does play. He's like a right back, center back hybrid.
Yes.
You guys feel like that's a position that we need quite a bit because, like, listen, let's say we do get him. That probably means we're moving Trent to midfield, right? Because if we
happy days for you,
happy days for me. It's just that's the agenda I was going for with this with this conversation.
Did you start this rumor?
Maybe I did. Like I said, Gordo, we're in the role of conspiracies here. So maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But yeah, he seems like the kind of profile that we need right now because obviously Matip's gonna leave, right? And we don't really have reliable right-sided center back cover. Aside from Kwanzaa.
But I think it goes back to what, it's a combination of what you're thinking and, what's happening. I think, people say, I think pretty much everybody agrees that we probably need the number 6, right? And we need the center back. And then maybe we'll fight over like some of the other positions. Yes, we needed this, we don't. But I think we automatically everybody agrees that we need a 6 and we need a center back. So when you look at any team, if I give you a squad and I'm like, who would you take from there? The first position, you're probably like, if you're filtering positions, you're probably doing like, what do they have for center back? Because we need a center back kind of a thing. And I think that's where it's coming from. The thing is, if something like this happens, Gordo, to me, it says, especially if you're getting somebody right-sided, it's really hard for us to sign an up-and-coming in-demand left-sided center back right now who's willing to sit behind Van Dijk.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that statement. I see Sparky's got Trent leaving instead of going to midfield, just completely leaving. And you know what? 250 million to Real, and Salah goes to Saudi for 100 million. I say we take Jude Bellingham off their hands because they just won La Liga. They probably are going to win the Champions League again. So that means, like, what else is Jude going to win there? So you start running to fun. Bring him back over. He's already, one season.
He should accomplished in one season. He is ridiculous, dude. Yeah. He is ridiculous.
So, if that's what it takes, then I guess we'll go that way. But, yeah, I think when you have such a commanding central defender, it's hard sometimes for those players to attract those players. Like I'm sure we've missed out on a lot of targets, left and right wingers when Mane and Salah were in their primes. Because like, why would I want to go there and try and establish myself versus them? So, and I think that happens everywhere at every club, which is why, like, a lot of times you have a very, very good player, and then the backup is like,
How much do you think that the fact that Klopp doesn't really rotate play into this? Like, maybe we can actually get a player that can back up Van Dijk who's almost as good, because Schlott might actually rotate this time.
But why
right?
would you want to come to Liverpool if you know you can go to one of the, another club and you're pretty much guaranteed the starting position?
Well, the thing is, like, look at Vardiol going to Man City. He's not exactly an instant starter, up and coming central defender. He knows that he's probably going to play behind Stones, Diaz, and Kanji, right? So why can't a player of his stature do the same at Liverpool, right? Because Vardiol knows Pep rotates, so he has a chance.
That's
right?
possibility, but then you're overpaying probably for the guy too, because you're kind of compensating for the fact that he's not shoed in.
Right.
Yeah. You gotta make it worth.
I mean, that's what I would
That's
get.
a fair point.
I mean, like, and here's another thing: like, people are always like, if you trust yourself, then okay, like, it doesn't matter if you trust yourself or not. I can be the best young winger ever. I am not going to bench Mo, who's getting 250, 300,000 a week. It's just not like, doesn't matter how well you perform. You might get more minutes, but you're never going to make him the bench guy and you're going to start. It's just not realistic. So why would I, as a young player, why would I put myself in that situation? And we had a lot of this conversation with, like, Arda Güler, for example, who went to Real Madrid. It's just like, dude, like, why would you? I mean, yeah, it's great you're at Real, but I mean, I look at that Real Madrid team. He started the other day because they're resting players for, like, Champions League, and they already won the title. But you look at that squad, you're like, okay, like, until Modric and Kroos and all these people retire, and Real, they're going to go spend another 100, 150 million this offseason, get another couple of midfielders. Why wouldn't you go to a team where you're going to start regularly and then go there as a starter, as opposed to like the 8th choice midfielder kind of a thing, especially as a young player? Why are we so fixated on rotation? I don't know. Ask Fabinho and Henderson.
Right. Van Dijk isn't exactly getting younger as well. So we kind of have to, find. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The last 5 years, I think you could argue that we kind of run out of it. Looks like the guys are tired at the end because of how many games they have to play. And I think, like, this time especially, I mean, I think we can all agree now, hindsight's 2020, but what the rotational players did for us when they were the only players, burned them out. And you have to rotate the squads. And Arsenal, you can argue, yeah, they're getting great results. They're probably going to finish second again, lose the title race. So that's not necessarily helping them because,
right.
Second place is as good as fourth, right? They've got no trophies. They're not in the FA Cup. They didn't win the Carabao Cup. They're not in the Champions League. So they're going to come up with nothing for no rotation. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good argument.
It's perfect as well as a segue to what Gordo said. This is a season where they were fortunate with injuries. Like, let's be real. It's kind of like us getting the perfect storm in 1920, where City had a lot of injuries, and our main guys. Well, actually, Salah had some injuries then, and Alisson, but then mostly, the core of Mane, Firmino, and the midfield was pretty much stable. So, listen, if this is a perfect storm for Arsenal and they don't win it, I have to say it's not looking good, right? Next year, imagine if this team comes in and they get a few injuries. So they were actually fortunate that City, managed to drop some points early on. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as close as it is right now. So.
Yeah, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this, but I mean, how much of this is just luck? How much of this is game management? Because they do rotate. Arsenal does rotate, and they do subs. I mean, the biggest complaints I've had, the criticism I've had of Klopp is the fact that he does not sub and he does not trust a lot of players in the squad. So, and that's why, we wore odds. I mean, look at Fabinho, look at Henderson, especially like in positions in this system that are extremely demanding. We're kind of like worn them down. The wheels have come off because we played them to death. And even games that we had in hand, they didn't leave the pitch till the 80th minutes or whatever. So some of it is luck, but some of it is managing the minutes of your players, especially like when you're in the Champions League and stuff like that. In our thing, because we're in Europe, but now you're playing Thursday too, so it's an even shorter turnaround. You have to rotate. The whole 12-man squad, 14-man squad thing does not work when you play every 3 days. Club complains when we play like after 5 days, and there's a reason for that. So the Euros will be telling on a lot of Arsenal players. I don't agree that Arsenal does not get rotated, by the way. They do. I feel like they do get rotated. They just haven't had to rotate out of necessity like we've had to because of injuries. You know what I mean? They've done it themselves. And here's the thing. You don't have to necessarily rotate and come up with a different starting 11 if you can put the game away like they have been. I mean, that's one thing Arsenal does. You got to give them credit for that. You got to give Lego Head credit for that. One way or the other, they're winning their games 3-0, 4-0 and stuff like that. And they take their guys off and then, get other people's Trossard comes in and stuff like that. And everybody gets their minutes. So I think, by the way, is that chart right? Because I thought Saka missed a lot more games than 2. Maybe he just kept coming off or something. I've seen him come off a lot due to injury and stuff like that. But I mean, if you guys had to make a pie chart, where are you putting the luck? Where are you putting game management? Where are you putting the sports science team? Gordo.
It's a little of both, right? Because but
if you're doing the pie chart, giving the slices out, what slice does each get?
33.33, 33.33, 33.34 to those, because everything could be perfect, and then Jordan Pickford comes out and kicks you in the chest.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of luck, it's a little bit of game management. The other thing too is most of those players play internationally. We all know that international teams do not take care of players.
Yeah.
The stress of travel gets to people. So you can put all the right pieces and all the right movements in the training and preparation, and it's still not going to mean you don't get injured. So there is a factor of luck into it for sure. That list too does not show that Jesus, who was definitely one of Arteta's favorites, missed 15 games this year. Zinchenko, who seemed like he had made his way into the starting lineup last year, missed 15 games. And then Partey, who they spent a shitload of money on, missed 30 games this year. So that.
And Timber missed the season.
Right. But I would argue that he had, he played maybe one game.
Just preseason, I think, right?
So, you could argue that he's not a pivotal player, but I would say that, Jesus and Zinchenko and then somebody they spent a ton of money on probably should have made the list. I know why they left him out, because it doesn't meet the effectiveness of the post, but they weren't totally devoid of injuries.
What do you put the pie charts, the slices, Jan?
Yeah, probably the same. Although I'm leaning towards my long-term view of Arsenal. They were fortunate enough to manage to place their best 11 more frequently than us, than City. So that served them well. And listen, it's a combination of all things, and I feel like their play style is slightly more sustainable than ours. They're basically somewhat of a clone of City, where it's a lot more possession based and less high intensity shit like what we do, which is why, like I said a few shows ago, we're going to see if it's really Klopp style that's taking a lot of toll on our players when Schlott comes in. He plays high intensity, but not as high intensity as Klopp. You don't get high intensity there.
Yeah, it's not as direct, I think. So if you don't like all that ball movements in the back and all that kind of stuff, buckle up, because you're going to get a lot of it.
Hey, Saidu is going to enjoy it because we're moving to 4-2-3-1, right?
He's in heaven. He can't wait. Start the calendar when he starts. Well, I mean, we always end with predictions. What the hell? We're not playing midweek, but Bayern Real. I think you already showed your colors, saying Bellingham is going to win his Champions League. But you going with Real over there?
Although it would be very funny if Harry Kane makes the Champions League final and loses it to Dortmund. That would just be. Yeah. I mean, is there anything sweeter than just that, I don't even have to comment that I'm going to murder his family. I just let it happen in real life, it's just, I don't have to go into his DMs and say something mean. It's happening to him in real life.
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking Real wins too, personally, but where are you at, John?
I think
they just know what to do when they
the aura is just too much, bro. The fact that Real is in this position, you just know that they're gonna advance. Kind of like if you know that they make the final, you know that they're gonna win it. So
right. It's just history sometimes is such a, and it doesn't make any sense, right? But like those of us who love sport, not just soccer, but everything like basketball, hockey, whatever your sport is, you realize that sometimes history is a big factor in success. Like I look at the national league this year with Bromley had to go to penalties against Sully Moore, and they were like massive favorites to win, but Bromley hasn't been in the league in their 120 something year existence when they basically blew the lead and had to go to penalties. And it's just like sometimes history is puts so much weight and stress on players. And I'm sure the Bayern, they've won the Champions League several times, but they're not, Real's caliber where they can possibly win the Champions League every year. There's no other team like that.
And that goes back to the mental side of the game too. Like, people are like, well, those guys were not here then. Does not matter. They hear, they know, they go out there, and there's like a certain belief that like, are we gonna do this? As opposed to the other team saying like, oh, they're gonna find a way to freaking do this, aren't they? Kind of a deal. So it is a mental part of the game, which can't wait to hear more from Gordo, Serzi, and Rich on that. So stay tuned for more information on that. The boys will be back tomorrow night for the podcast with the Fantasy Nerds right afterwards. And we are, we'll probably find out shortly over here and make it official, but might have some huge news and a huge giveaway coming up your way. So stay tuned for that. If it does happen, should be announcing it probably later today or tomorrow at the latest. So stay tuned for that. Go buy your hat. Maybe you'll eventually get one of these shirts. Who knows? Have an excellent Wednesday, everybody. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Thursday Night Podcast. Take care.
Take care, guys.